All right, we have a pretty insane weather event to talk about coming up. This is going to be a major southerly high wind event in much of New England, but it's not necessarily your traditional type. So I'll talk about this. So you see, we have this bowling ball of energy coming down from the plains here, kind of as a cutoff. I don't know. Then you're getting this weird cyclogenesis over Florida, as we know. They're getting like flooding, rain, tornadoes tonight. And you'll watch as these two pieces of energy, and you even have a third one, a little less defined, but definitely a third feature, also kind of off the Louisiana coast. These three features kind of just combine. The northern one and the Florida one combine here, and then your southern one scoops it up, and it scoops this thing into a ball that is flung northward by this fourth piece of energy, which is a diving trough. This is probably a clipper. And see how this fourth piece of energy dives and it scoops this phased three pieces of energy right over the northeast. So it's a very dynamic, unusual setup. But with unusual setups come extreme weather. We should know this. And what extreme weather are you asking? It is a strong southerly high wind event. So just your really quick GFS run because it gives you the overview, and then we'll get into specifics. I'm mostly gonna be talking high wind. I mean, you look at this run from the Carolinas, like you don't give me a timestamp on what month it is. Obviously, like get rid of that snow, but like even with the snow up in Canada, I mean, I would think this could be September or October. I mean, maybe a little. I mean, you wouldn't see that, but yeah, no, this looks like a fall tropical storm. This looks like a tropical storm. And that's why I want to emphasize throughout all this. A lot of what we're going to see is it's going to behave more like a weak tropical storm than just an extratropical low. And there are warm core features, and I did have one reason for, actually I have a few reasons for having tropical open, but I did want to. No, we'll get to the 850 jet. I want to show you your 850 temperatures because this will show you your warmer temperatures aloft. This system has some borderline warm core characteristics. I mean, absolutely warm core for Florida. See those localized warmer temperatures where the low is? That is warm core. And see how even as it lifts up into New England, I mean, this is Monday, into the Northeast, you still have, I mean, a few pieces of localized higher values. And even here, I mean, you still have a ball of higher values surrounded by lower values everywhere. And obviously, you have this pipeline out of the freaking Caribbean into the Northeast, but also these localized higher values. It has warm core characteristics. And then you combine that with a very, very major Arctic blast into the Midwest. And it's just a very, very dynamic setup. So that's the idea. We're going to stay here, actually. I want to look more local. So top-down approach, we are going to be looking at, and again, it just looks like a tropical storm, but we are going to be looking at a 50 millibar low-level jet, and we're going to go to the northeast. Oops. So I wanted to show you, this loads. Yeah, there we go. I wanted to show you how, because again, we have the zero-Z guidance, which I waited to do. We have to use tropical for this because pivotal, the color bar will literally break. The low-level jet is just that good. It will just show orange everywhere. But we get some of the pink shading. You're getting up into Category 2 winds a mile up. So obviously, I mean, do you have a friction issue? How much mixes to the ground? It's what we want to know. But the first thing you got to have is a thumping low-level jet, and we absolutely do. Look at that. Low pressure riding up from eastern PA into upstate New York. Strong negative tilt developing. Look at that. The way the ISO bars, the ISO heights here. Real negative tilt. And then, I mean, hurricane force low-level jet over every inch of New England, no question. And then your Category 2 winds, pink shading, I mean, that's getting up into definitely inside of I-95, maybe even further west, but definitely looks like inside of I-95 is going to get that Category 2 to Category 3 low-level jet, which is just off the charts. I mean, the radio songs just don't observe soundings or low-level jets that high, and I mean, here's just one. We'll talk about these soundings in a little bit, but a preview, I mean, it is just breaking the scale. I mean, there's double triangles, 100 knots easily for good distance. And I mean, look at the amount of just meridional hurricane force wind in the entire column. This is about as much as you can see. And it is just that meridional of a system. I mean, you actually in some places have an easterly component to even like your 250 millibar wind. So does your NAM 3K agree? NAM I think is actually a little stronger. NAM has been kind of gung ho on mixing, like I think a little bit too much. But again, I mean that is just Category 2 to Category 3 low-level jet into a lot of the eastern half of New England. I mean, just docks where I live real quick. And I mean, we're well mixed, but just double triangles. We'll talk about mixing, but yeah. So that first box has been checked. Her is further east. Your surface low is coming into. I mean, I'd probably say like it's kind of hard to see here, but I'd probably say like western New England. Maybe as far east as the Connecticut River Valley. Obviously, you saw the NAM was more over eastern New York. PA, I don't think it matters that much. This low-level jet is thumping enough. It doesn't matter, and that's one thing people might say, oh, the track matters. No, it really doesn't. We're in a situation with a jet this big. It doesn't really matter. Unless it would go so far east, it would cut off some of New England from seeing wind, but I just don't think it matters. So we're going to get into models, mostly looking at her and NAM. I mean, there's just not a lot else to look at. These two models should give you enough confidence now that we've zeroed it in. So big trend that I think have seen for today. What's the big story of today? The big story is things have slowed down, which is great because I'm going to be high wind chasing on Monday. And I was a little worried. It looked like a bit of an early show. I was like, okay, great. It's flooding. I have to get up early, but not as much. It looks like things have slowed down a little bit. So it looks like it's going to be more during the day Monday. I think things deteriorate Sunday night, but really the wind is a Monday thing. So yeah, we get into Sunday night. I mean, you already have this borderline atmospheric river. I mean, I don't know if I guess you'd call that, but just plumes of moisture, stratiform rain overrunning into interior northeast. Some of these guys I do have to watch to see if we could get just on the very beginning of the rain shield, could we get an isolated thunderstorm out of one of these? Is there enough Cape? Sometimes we get a little bit of an instability burst on the edge of the really moist humid air mass, and you do see here a few hundred MU Cape. It wouldn't be a lot, definitely wouldn't be severe with that inversion, but I cannot rule out an isolated rumble of thunder in any one of these low top cells that you see coming in. So in New England overnight, evening hours, but you're in it. I mean, and you look at this shield, I will talk about a few times how tropical storm-esque everything is. And you just see this type of rain shield. It just looks like a tropical remnant. But that is just soaking rain. I mean, you would look at this and think, oh, no, this is just bright banding. No, it's not. I mean, obviously not. Just tremendous moisture coverage. But we get into the heavier rain. It looks like now we get into the heavier rain into the morning commutes. I think both commutes are washed out anywhere in the I-95 corridor in the northeast. And then we're really focusing here in, of course, southern New England, where I am. And yeah, I mean, on and off heavy rain. You look at some of these convective elements. Is some of this stuff going to produce thunder and lightning? I don't think there's quite enough MU Cape. But I mean, any of these 40, 50 dBz showers with that type of low-level jet, this is how you get 80 mile per hour winds, isolated, not widespread, but this is how you get an isolated 80 mile per hour wind gust is in the core of one of these things, that it will bring it to the ground. And that's not even like the whole of it, but yeah, on and off convective elements. It looks like the rain wraps up around 22Z, and you will see, actually we'll go to 850 jet, which I think I did show you, but I do want to just show you again the later timing. That really your jet overspread southern New England by about 8 or 9 a.m. And then you're in it, and then the back edge comes through with a cold front. I mean, again, here's your surface, so look at that negative tilt. Back edge is going to come through into southern New England, mid to late afternoon hours, depending where you are. But I mean, that's a good 6 hours. You're under just a 100 knot low-level jet. So what does this all mean for the surface? So usually a good signal, I think, for high wind warning level winds is the sustained wind. People use the gusts because it's eye candy. It'll show like 75 or 80 in Boston. I'm not going to do that because it doesn't happen. Like, just don't use this. I don't know why everybody on Twitter uses this. It never works. It's always overdone. But the thing I found is if you look at these sustained gusts and you more or less double them, you get a really good estimate for like gusts. Yeah, I don't know if I said gusts, but if these sustained winds, if you double these sustained winds, you get a good gust estimate. And I know this from what's happened previously, but look at that 976 in the Adirondacks. I mean, just a classic monster southerly high wind event. Look at that pressure gradient. Very, very tightly packed isobars. And I mean, the HRRR is a doomsday scenario. NAM 3K is a little further east. We'll show you that. But what does a high wind warning look like? I mean, you have sustained 25 to 30 knots in all of southern New England, minus maybe some terrain effects in the Berkshires. But this is sustained 25 to 35 miles per hour. You want to double that. I think this is a widespread 50 to 70 I-91 corridor points east. I mean, even getting into southern New Hampshire, you'll probably be gusting over 50. Obviously, down east, I think that's down east Maine, Maine coast. I mean, you're in it too. But I mean, it's a widespread area, and that's really what I wanted to emphasize. This isn't just at the coast, because sometimes we get these really big events and they're just at the coast, and like inland, it's just like 30 miles per hour. But I want to emphasize this is going to be a big event for a lot of people. This is widespread. And I mean, just some of these are just interior winds. I mean, this is west of my house. Let's take a look at one of these soundings and see. Absolutely well mixed. Absolutely well mixed. That's like a 7 Celsius per kilometer in the maybe 6 Celsius per kilometer, I'd say, down into the ground. So that's moist adiabatic. I don't know about this dry mid-level air. We've been seeing some weird stuff, but there's your mixing. I mean, it's southeasterlies for sure, and it's just great. And you'll see also the Cape and the islands, obviously they're in it, but it's not that much worse there than like in Boston. It's going to be equally bad. And I think people west of I-95, like myself, are going to get more wind than they're used to. But that's the HRRR. You can see it kind of shuts off by about 6 p.m. But I just don't usually see this. It's just very widespread. So HRRR is a worst case scenario. It is well mixed in a lot of cases. It has the convective elements to bring it down. I mean, every box is checked. Besides maybe, quote, it's unconventional. We don't see this type of setup a lot. NAM is good too, although you will notice, I mean, there's a brief burst in the Connecticut River Valley, but I do think that the NAM hones in a bit more inside of I-95. But I mean, these are just potent values. This is like inner Boston Metro, 26, 27 knots. I mean, that's low 30s sustained. And again, you're just well mixed. I mean, obviously there is a bit of inversion, but at least near the surface, you're mixing pretty well. And again, look at that easterly meridional flow just up to the tropopause. Notice the dry mid-level air. I don't want to call it an EML, but it's definitely a dry punch. And there's a question on the leading edge of this dry sector, dry conveyor belt. Do we get a plunge in the dew points? Do we mix better and get more wind to the ground? I don't know. It's pretty bad as it is. But again, you're just seeing a large area that is going to be in high wind warning winds. So this high wind warning, I think, surely is to be extended west. I mean, I would think all of Middlesex County, Worcester County, I think, especially with the terrain, they have an argument for it too. I mean, they could even expand it into southern New Hampshire, Berkshires, Hartford area. But I mean, it is just expansive. And yeah, I mean, all the boxes are checked. I was skeptical on this event because it just looked so weird. It was just a north moving cutoff. It just seemed so weird, but I'm kind of getting it now. It's so weird because we don't usually get events as powerful. But anyway, really good consensus from the NAM. That's why I felt okay making this video tonight. There is good consensus. You are getting a few of these convective elements. I think that your best chance to actually see thunder is going to be early. I mean, that is some fat Cape in there. Look at that. I don't know how accurate. I mean, I guess it's accurate, but yeah, I'm 300, 400 MU. I mean, you can get thunder out of this. I don't think it's going to be lights out. Definitely not severe, but none of this will have thunder. This is all, let's take a sounding here. Should not be any Cape here. Yeah, no Cape here. And notice your PWATs are instantly 1.4, 1.5. Flooding rain is an issue, but I think it's progressive enough. I think it's really the wind, and the wind is just going to overshadow so much. But I will say, yes, you're probably getting 2 inches of rain plus. That definitely does not help. That definitely will make trees come down easier, but I don't think flooding is going to be the major story here. This is a windstorm. But yeah, you're in the rain overnight. It's a soaking, moisture-rich, efficient stratiform-esque, tropical-esque rain. but they are getting the convective elements mid-morning, and then we don't see a true squall line form, but I wouldn't be surprised. There isn't that great convergence of wind, but these events are so dynamic. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a very negatively tilted squall line come in, and whether they want to severe warn that or not. I mean, even here, you got some better elements here. I bet there's probably a bit of MU cape in here. Wow, marginal severe. How about that? You're well mixed, at least at the surface. 500 MU, we got marginal. You know what? I would say this stuff would probably be a severe thunderstorm. This would probably, thunder, lightning or not, this would classify as a severe thunderstorm. So, wow. And the other story, of course, is temperatures. You know it's going to be mild. But, like, to see a 60 already is just kind of bonkers. And I think it was the HRW, I think, that had low 60s. Yeah, I mean, low to mid 60s in the coastal plain. This would be a worst case. I don't know if this would even mix, or if this even has mixing. Wow. I mean, that is maybe a very slight inversion right on the ground, but that is a worst case. Do I believe it? I don't know. Your jet here is way too weak. But I mean, if you get over 60, which I think is going to happen, that is how you mix to the ground, no question. So it's not good. Wind is going to be very strong. There's going to be a lot of outages, I'm sure. How about rain? We will look at this. I think the main flood threat, it's going to be to the west. It's going to be PA, New York, especially. I think this is the Catskills, your terrain, your Adirondacks terrain, even like your White Mountains terrain, your Berkshires terrain with the upslope. Your terrain is what's going to get the heavier rain. It's not going to be heavy everywhere. But yeah, your coastal plain, I mean, the area that's getting the strong winds, I mean, this is still a solid 1 to 3 inches. So, I mean, this is still a flood risk. I just don't think we're going to be talking about like major impacts like, basement's flooded, oh my God, got to evacuate. I think it's going to be like some of the really bad roads are going to pond. I definitely think the commute's going to be bad, but this is a little more intense, but I still don't think these numbers are outrageous. I mean, we are Southern New England. Have you seen how much it rained this summer? We can handle this. And by the way, Mount Washington just doing its thing. Oh man, I'd love to be on Mount Washington for this. But actually, we'll talk about mountains probably now. I don't really have anything else to show you, but the jet is crazy. How many minutes? We're at 17. Okay, fair enough. So I did load BuffKit data. I wanted to show you what this low-level jet looks like. This is, I think, 18Z Her and NAM. We didn't have the latest one, but you get the idea. So 2 things I want to point out. Elevation of Blue Hill, bam. Elevation of Mount Wachusett, bam. And we're going to look at, these 2 levels. And we'll kind of find that I think here is where they peak. So the elevation of Blue Hill is 635 feet. So it's between these 2 layers. And this is 928 feet. This is 532 feet. And this is wind speed. So we can assume that at the elevation of Blue Hill, which of course they're going to be recording their data as they always do, we can assume at this elevation that we have 55 knots, this is knots, plus sustained. And what does that translate to for gusts? I would probably say 80 knots, which I don't know. That's 90 something miles per hour. So, I mean, is this a cherry pick from the heat of it? Yes, but I do think it's plausible that Blue Hill gusts to 80 to 90 miles per hour. I really do. And I will be going there. And I'm really excited, but also a little nervous. But these could be the strongest winds I ever see in my life. I mean, that's sustained 60 miles per hour at least, which is insane. And then we move up a little bit to Mount Wachusett, which is an hour and a half northwest of Boston. So they're definitely in the low-level jet, pretty ski place. What does Wachusett have? Wachusett has 82 knots sustained. I mean, this isn't just like above the ground. This is literally terrain. There is 2,000-foot terrain in central Massachusetts and Worcester County. And even just like, not even like just towns, not even like mountains. There are towns like Princeton, etc., Spencer, Leicester, and Worcester County that are over 1,000 feet. So you have hurricane force sustained winds going into either towns or mountains in Worcester County. So, I mean, that's an 82 knot sustained. Do I believe this? I don't know, but I mean, that will be as high end as you can get. I do think that this 100 knot might be just a hair overdone because we never really observed one before. But even if you subtract 10 knots from all of this, that's still a hurricane force sustained. So it's just unreal. And we'll go to the NAM. I think the NAM is a little maybe more reasonable, but it's still pretty strong. The peak of it, okay, so we got low 40s knots sustained at Blue Hill. That's probably mid 50s miles per hour. That still says 70 to 80 mile per hour gusts for me where I'm going to be. And then Wachusett, we get a lot of data here. This is great. Wachusett is going to be hurricane force. I mean, that's in knots, no question. Worcester, KORH, Worcester, Mass. Worcester, Mass is going to be at sustained 50 knots. So the idea here is like a lot of people in central Massachusetts live in this elevation. So this isn't just going to be like, oh, there's wind above our head. This is hurricane force wind, sustained or gusts, where people live. So it's pretty serious, and I'm pretty worried about power outages. The good thing is, though, is their trees are leafless. So I mean, if this was in the summer, it'd be a blackout. I still think it is kind of lights out, but given how much rain we've had, but I mean, the trees will not come down as easily. And again, here is your buff kit. If you wanted to look at the profiles, look at that. You're well mixed to this 45 knot area. So you're mixing down this 45 knots. And I mean, even in general, I mean, you're not really inverted at all. I mean, it's just marginal. But that's about what I got. It's a pretty crazy event. I will be activating chase mode. Video on that probably coming. Enjoy and stay safe if you're in the area. I do think power will go out to a lot of people, unfortunately.